Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is I, Captain Logan, and joining me, as always, is my fantabulous chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez.
Hey, what a lovely introduction with the gong there.
Yeah, gong. Like how you doing, DJ? It's good to see you, buddy.
I would like a gong to be rung every time I walk into a room. That sounds great.
Yeah, you'd be making an entrance without even trying. Somebody else does this for me, but it seems impressive, you know? It's almost better than an entourage, really.
Well, I guess I just need to bring a gong bearer with me everywhere I go.
That'd be a weird job.
He'll just announce me.
You're hired to be a gong bearer. Can you imagine that being an app? You know, like if there was an app for that, like Uber or something? It's like hire a gong bearer.
Yeah, by the hour. I mean, they got apps where you can hire someone to come pick up your dog poop. I mean, there's apps for everything. Have you seen that? You drop a geotag, and you don't even have to pick it up. They come and pick it up for you.
Oh, okay. But that's a service that people need, you know?
Well,
like, imagine if your whole job was just...
Hey, whatever pays the bills. I'd do it.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for... I'm sorry, what were you saying? I didn't realize you were still talking.
No, I'm not saying anything worthwhile. Keep going.
Thanks a lot for being here tonight on another epic, spectacular episode, I'm sure, of the Captain Logan Show. It is number 269 for anyone keeping count. Tonight, DJ and I are going to take your questions, as always, for the majority of the hour, or of the show, the 2 hours. Sorry, I'm distracted by children crying. So somebody's got to go to bed, and she doesn't like it when it's time to get, you know, changed in things. Anyway,
don't we all?
We just don't have sound. I know, I hate that. We don't have soundproofing in the ceiling here in the bunkers, so sometimes you hear that. And plumbing. Anyway, yeah, we're going to answer your questions as always. Feel free to ask about anything under the sun within reason. We're going to answer some Patreon questions right after the lead-in topic. And if you would like to be sure on a weekly basis that you can ask me something that will guaranteed be answered on this show, or save for the next one if we have too many. Tonight, we've only got 6. We should be able to get through all of them. You can go to patreon.com/geekvolution. Just the $2 tier lets you take advantage of that. And as always, you can leave super chats if you're here live, and ask anything you'd like within reason, but you can also leave a regular question or comment in the live comments there, and make sure that you tag DJ Martinez or at Gong Bearer.
No, I'm not the gong bearer. I hire the gong bearer.
Oh, okay. At manager of the Gong Bearer.
Assistant regional manager of the gong bearer is my exact title.
Hey, I just want to do a little bit of Geekvolution house cleaning stuff real quick. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing a double feature for the Superhero Rewind commentary project. Austin and I are going to be starting with, we're going to do a couple of animated features, and we're still stuck in DC land. Since we started this project, it's all been DC. Not my fault entirely for this show, and I was not remotely involved in choosing this. I let the Rewind selection board pick the first movie we're doing, and then Austin and I picked the second one, kind of sort of based on that. And the selection board, they all put in a bunch of nominations, and then I basically used random number generator to pick the ones that were in the poll. So like my bias is not in this whatsoever, even though it will totally look like it is. We're going to be doing Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, and then right after that we're going to do Superman Doomsday. One of these movies is good. You be the judge as to which one that probably is. Anyway, maybe somebody out there likes Superman Doomsday. I've not met that person yet. Most people don't seem to care for that movie, but we're going to tackle both of those. That's the first movie I ever did on Superhero Rewind. I did a follow-up years later, but I've never done a commentary on it, and so we're finally going to do that tomorrow along with Return of the Joker. I got the Blu-ray for that, which I did not own previously. I'm using this, DJ, as an excuse to upgrade some of my collection. When a movie comes up that I don't own, or I don't have a nicer copy of, most recent copy, I'm going to go ahead and pick those up. And
nice.
It's a nice release, and the transfer is really good. I watched it again last night, and it also has a commentary, which I didn't realize, and so I'm going to try to watch that tomorrow before the show. Do I have that here? Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty standard looking bare bones Blu-ray, but the disc looks good. And I'm glad that I finally got my hands on that because I just had the DVD before. And this is, of course, the rated PG-13 version, which I had seen but didn't have a copy of.
Nice.
And for anybody asking, because I haven't gotten that question, that is the one we'll be watching, so not the censored version. I shouldn't say censored, because there's like totally different animation in bits of it, particularly in the flashback with Robin and Joker. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's more violent in this version. And for years and years, I had never seen that version. I just knew about it, and I finally saw it, I don't know, just a few years ago. But that's the one that we'll be doing tomorrow. So I'll finally be able to weigh in more on that, because I haven't really talked so much about that version. So it will not be all rehash. You will hear some things that you haven't heard me say before, maybe. Anyway,
that should have been the name of the show. Honestly, just call it Superhero Rehash.
Oh, that's really good, actually. Yeah. I don't know if as many people would show up for that.
No, it makes it seem like a show that no one needs to watch.
That'll be the first regular series on Waste Your Time Volution.
Exactly.
DJ, without further ado, without wasting any more of everyone's time, I'm going to go ahead and get into tonight's lead-in topic. And I just want to talk a few minutes about this and reminisce a little bit. This isn't news so much as just kind of checking in with where we are in this place in history. Sort of like we did last week, actually. DJ wasn't here for this, but Jason and I talked about anniversaries. And we are at just past an anniversary for the Arrowverse. I want to say Arrow actually started in 2012, so the whole Arrowverse is ending 11 years after it started in now 2023. It would have been kind of cool if they could have put the whole thing to bed last year and had an even 10 years, I suppose, but I don't think there was really any plans to full-on end it. This kind of just ended up happening because of a number of different factors. Some of it is... So let me backtrack for a second and say, in case you are not aware, and maybe you're not, because not a ton of people are talking about this, because most people have not cared about the CW superhero shows in a good long time, but The Flash just ended this last week with the 13th episode of season 9. Yeah, it got 9 seasons. Arrow made it to 8. Flash, they went all the way to 9. And I think Legends got 6, so that's the third.
That's crazy.
Actually, not even the third longest, because Supergirl also got 6, so it's tied. Maybe Legends was 7. I think it was 6, though. But that just ended this week and is technically the official end of the whole Arrowverse. Now, there have been rumors that because this ended... I mean, I can't say prematurely, right? It held on far too long and well past anybody caring, well past credulity. But I don't think the executives there, Berlanti and those guys, were really... expecting it to end when it did. They didn't plan for a big, full-on Arrowverse finale like I think a lot of people were kind of hoping for and were maybe disappointed that they didn't do. They did have as cheesy as it was, they did have a wrap-up for the series, but it didn't really feel like, the end of the Arrowverse proper for the, 15 people that still care about that. I did go ahead and watch it, and I've not been keeping up with Flash at all, so I was right at the end of a 4-parter, having no idea really what I was looking at, but I thought somebody might ask about it, and I figured since I was making this a lead-in topic, I might as well go ahead and look at it. I'm not going to do a full-on review here. I don't want to waste, the next half an hour talking about that. If anybody wants to ask me about any particular aspects of that as we go, I am perfectly happy to mention that, and we can, I'll just put up a spoiler alert, but I doubt that people are going to care all that much. I'll just say it was as silly as those shows have been when I've checked back in on them, and as sappy as you might expect, and the writing was the same kind of melodramatic nonsense that usually is. It was, thematically and character-wise, pretty Power Ranger-y. And I don't know. I feel like at least it's not so self-serious that it kind of knows it's schlock now to some degree, so it's a little bit easier to swallow. But people seem really disappointed with it, and I think that's fair. It's kind of, again, because I think people were really expecting it to be a cap off to the Arrowverse proper, and it's one of those finales where you're like, well, I mean, you could keep going. I don't really know why we're ending here, except it's the end, So, it's wrapped up in a bow in the sense that there's some finality to the attitude of it, but there's really no reason that it couldn't just keep going if it wanted to, especially given that it overstayed its welcome as far as it did. But it was a lot of bringing back villains that you hadn't seen in a long time that died and were using the Speed Force and time travel shenanigans to bring back all the major like anti-Flash characters and teaming them all up, and that gets wrapped up about midway through the episode, and then it just kind of keeps going. It's that sort of thing. I wasn't super impressed with it. It also, you can tell that they're working on a budget now of about $25. Like it looks really cheap at this point. And it was kind of, I don't know, it was not nostalgic for me going back to it the way I was kind of hoping it would. I will say that Gustin is even right there at the very end, giving it everything and, doing his best to make as quality a product as he can with what they've got to work with. I guess it was nice to hear Tony Todd's voice again for 5 seconds with Zoom, and to see Kavanaugh play the original Wells again for a little bit. Like, that was kind of fun, but minor spoilers. Honestly, I kind of expected all that. Like, I wasn't really surprised that they did that stuff. All the family stuff was really super awkward. I'll just say that. Anyway, so there's I don't know. Now I've done a little mini review of that, but I get into, I don't know. I bring up that I watched a thing and my head immediately goes to review mode. It's like I'm programmed.
Must review
to do this.
Must review. That's Cap. Anytime he's not on camera, his legs just walk back to his desk and he sits him down.
So to finish, yeah, and it drives my wife crazy too. She's like, "Why are you? There's no camera. Nobody's watching. Why are you reviewing right now? Stop it." To go back to a point I started to make earlier, there's been a rumor that because this is ending maybe before Berlanti wanted it to, the producers, those guys, it's that Superman and I almost said Lois and Clark. Superman and Lois might be saying, no, psych, we really have been in the Arrowverse all along. Somewhere in season 1 or just after season 1, it was kind of like officially reported that it was in its own separate universe, so they could go any direction they wanted to with it, which is kind of smart. So you have an appearance of Diggle in the first season, but that's really the only thing that makes it feel at all like it's in that universe, besides the fact that just your Superman and Lois are actors that were established, but they're playing even slightly, it does feel like even slightly different variations on those characters, particularly with Lois, and so it's very easy to go, well, I mean, it's in the grander multiverse of DC on film and the Arrowverse at large. I mean, the really clunky way, and with some shows that didn't even want to be roped in, said that everything that's ever been on screen counts in that multiverse, which is really funny because now the DC movies with the Flash movie, also kind of has its own, and Batman 89 is represented in both of them. So, that's real awkward, but I don't think it's going to be difficult for everybody to just ignore that Crisis on Infinite Earths happened on the CW, because I guarantee you a large percentage of people that see that movie will think this is the first time that we've done that. I digress. So this is the quote-unquote official end of the Arrowverse, but it's possible that retroactively we'll say that the Superman and Lois is the real end of the Arrowverse. Is it possible that that show ends up ending with a lot more of a send-off for all of these shows in general? I would be very surprised, actually, if they did that, given that production has been a lot more of a HBO Max, now just Max thing that just airs on the CW. Production values, I've talked about this before, but production values are higher, and the writing is a little bit better, and it doesn't seem, concerned with some of the kinds of things that those other shows have been concerned with. So I don't think they'll do that, but I guess it is kind of disappointing just as I want to say like former fan of that material, because I used to be real into Arrow and Flash, really just those shows and like the first season of Supergirl, but that was before it was even, roped in. Yeah. And then it did not take very long before I completely lost interest, and I jumped ship way before a lot of people I know did. And I remember talking to people at my local comic shop that were every week when I'd go in there, when I was buying new comics religiously, they'd be talking about the new episode of Arrow and Flash, and I would kind of be in the camp of, yeah, it jumped the shark, it's lost me, I don't even buy the continuity anymore. I feel like the whole thing is kind of broken. And some of these guys would be like, what, you're crazy, it all makes sense. And then they would proceed to attempt to explain it to me and not be able to. And then it wasn't all that long before they were all kind of done with it too. But I thought it was kind of surprising how much longer people, I said like a year or two. I was kind of surprised that some people wrote it out quite a bit longer than I did. With Arrow, it was that mid-season cliffhanger with Ra's al Ghul, where I was like, well, you've got a Lazarus pit, and yet you didn't use it, and Oliver survives this impossible fall. And also, like, that by itself would not be enough, but it was just the straw that broke the camel's back, where I'm like, okay, it's very clear that you're now going into a department of we won't keep anybody dead in this world, probably. I was right about that. There don't seem to be really any stakes at all. We can't keep track of our own continuity, and we're only one show and like a season of Flash so far, or like half a season. I don't know. It got preposterous very quickly, and they were making a lot of missteps with relationship stuff, and it was getting with Felicity and stuff. It was getting very like predictably typical and the worst of like Smallville type CW. And Arrow started in a much smarter place, I think, than Smallville did, and it did not take more than a couple seasons before it was written as bad as that show ever was. And that's a pretty quick fall from grace. So I don't know. In short, like the mighty fell very, very quickly, and then it just kept limping along like a reanimated corpse. And it was kind of sad that they're over there with these shows that are barely bringing in 500,000 viewers on a weekly basis and just limping along because the CW needs content and nobody's watching it, but it's doing as well as most anything they have there. So you can have a show that only does like 600,000-700,000 viewers a week and still stay on the air. It's crazy. I started saying this earlier too. The Arrowverse has basically finished up now because the CW was bought out and they are retooling and they're canceling a lot of shows and ending stuff that nobody's watching and trying to like rework and rebrand themselves. We'll see how long it takes before that network is all reality shows and nothing else. I don't know if they're really going to have very much scripted content moving forward, but I guess we'll see what they end up doing. And if they end up, if that network even ends up surviving this whole thing, and B, because I think Grant Gustin was done. I think part of the reason it ended now is just because he didn't really want to do it anymore, and I don't know if his contract was up at 9. That sounds kind of weird, or if he somehow got out of a contract or what exactly happened. But I didn't end up reading the article, so I don't know if I'm right about this. But just before we started broadcasting, I wish I'd been able to look at it. I saw pardon my dogs. I saw, and there's so much happening upstairs. I saw
Brandon?
No, he's coming later. Article or a video that said that was like the reason that Grant Gustin ended the Flash, and so I'm assuming that he was probably finished, but I didn't get a chance to look into that, so I don't know if that's true. But I have been tempted to go back and look at some of the things I missed just out of morbid curiosity, and now that it's all said and done, I might see if there's any interest in occasionally coming in and doing some blind mini marathons. I'm probably not going to do full-on reviews at this point. I like watching any of this stuff season by season because it just tends to break my brain and kill brain cells, and I've got better things to do. I've talked about this. After I watched Gotham Season 5 and I sat down to do a review and I just couldn't make my mouth move, I was like, you know what? I don't think I need to do this. We can cover it in some of the stuff in kind of more fun, lackadaisical ways, and I think that'll be good enough for folks with this particular kind of material. But I don't know. Never say never. I did, what was it? Flash season 6, whatever season was on during Crisis on Infinite Earths. I watched the first half and I talked about that, and I did do the last couple of seasons of Arrow, but I don't know. I watched this finale. It didn't have me really caring that much to go back and see how we got to that place. So, and I should also say the Caitlin Snow business is nuts. It's ridiculous. Did you know, DJ, that Caitlin Snow got possessed by a god? She's just been... That show loves to do that, right? Where they'll kill off a character, and... Well, I'm just letting you know. They'll kill off a character, but they like the actor too much to get rid of the actor, so they find a way to keep the actor around.
Yeah.
And they did that with Wells over and over again. The kind of ongoing gag was, here's another Wells from another universe. And every season, it's a different version of Wells, played by Kavanaugh. And then with Caitlin, I didn't even know about this, because there was the alternate universe version of her. I remember this, the Killer Frost from another universe. And she was a regular in the show for a while, and I did not care about any of that. And then now she was like a god who was all about like the natural order of things, and she has this big like rambly preposterous speech. It's like rhetorical nonsense about how it's not about finding the balance between good and evil, it's about coexistence. So basically you're supposed to find a way to take the person that's doing evil and just shake their hand and find common ground. It's that easy, I'm
imagining the writers...
And then it is that easy in the episode where Flash just goes to... I won't reveal who the bad guy is for anybody that cares, but there's... Because I guess it was supposed to be kind of a big deal. They brought a particular character back that I didn't mention. Again, I was not that surprised by it, but basically it was like, oh, there's no way you can possibly change his mind. And then Flash just gives like a minute and a half speech and changes his mind, and the conflict, the whole reality destroying potentially conflict is over by the 24-minute mark.
I'm imagining the writers coming to that actress with this long list, like that everything you just explained about this god and this character she's gonna be playing, and she's just staring at them blankly for like 10 minutes, and then they're like, what do you think? She's like, I still have a job? And they're like, yeah. She's like, okay, perfect, I'll take it.
Senior Stick says they never killed her. Yeah, I know. It's technicality stuff. I actually thought they did kill her off at some point, but I think it was one of those situations where she was possessed and everybody thought that internally she was probably dead. But I guess there's sort of a question of that. It's weird because they basically did the same thing with her that they did with Fred and Illyria in Angel, except it ends off in a way, way cheesier and sappy kind of way. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Cool. And I was silent the entire time because I have not seen a single episode of the Arrowverse.
Yeah, well, your brain thanks you.
I have nothing to say.
Again, it's depressing to me because I was so invested in Arrow for the first year and a half, and I think that first half of season 2 is still some of the best superhero television we've ever had. Well, and I also meant to mention, too, let me say this real quick, that it's very strange just looking at where we were 10 years ago and where we are now, when I kept saying, like, look how spoiled we are. We have all this great superhero television. And then a few years later, I was going, like, there's too much superhero TV on, and I don't want to watch all of it anymore. And I can't keep doing Primetime Crisis because I'm going to scream if I have to take any more notes on these. And then now we're at a place where there's not as much... Oh, you have that.
I have the first season.
Why do you have that?
I don't know. I think I bought it for my dad, and he already had the DVD set because he liked the first couple seasons of the show when it was on. And then I don't know. I've never watched it, but I have it. It's back here. Anybody want this?
Yeah, I don't because I gotta buy the full 8-season set.
Oh yeah.
Because
get it for probably $10 on eBay.
My rule these days, well, and that came out not too long ago, but it's reasonable. It's like 50 or 60 for the whole show.
Okay.
But I've not been in a hurry. But Yeah, I wait until shows are complete these days, and then I buy the whole thing instead of buying season to season. I actually had the first 4 seasons of that at one time, and I got them very, very cheap. But when I liquidated a bunch of stuff back here, when I was upgrading and getting rid of duplicates, I went ahead and sold some of my TV that I knew I was going to replace whole seasons with. But I'm not going to need that for any reason for a while, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, we can go ahead and start answering questions and stuff, and if anybody wants me to continue talking about this, feel free to leave a super chat or a regular question in the comments, and we'll get to as many things as we can. Yeah. Okay, let's get going. Whatever folks want to talk about now. You're gonna go to Patreon first?
I will. Yeah, I'll read a few Patreon questions here. First one is from SS Jerry.
Yeah.
What are some of the best things for someone to take a look at to get hooked on Star Trek? Crossovers, movies, etc. could be suggested.
Yeah. Well, so this question comes up a lot, and and we did a whole video on it a million years ago when Sarah and I were doing Trek Spirits. I'll be as brief as I can about this. It just depends on your sensibilities. So my stock answer for the majority of people is the best of both worlds in Star Trek TNG, because there's a lot of great stuff in 3, but that's where that show really finds its stride. It's one of the best episodes of that show, and it's the most, in some ways, the most significant thing that happens in it, at least for Picard. And if you move forward in TNG from there, it watches, at least at the beginning of that season, a little bit less episodic and a little bit more serialized, especially in just themes that are being explored than in a lot of the rest of that show. And using the first several episodes of season 4 to get a taste of who those characters are and what that show is, I think is the best way to get hooked into that. And then maybe go back at some point and watch 2 and the rest of 3. Or if you're really digging on TNG, you can watch season 1, but just know that it's a slog and there's a lot of crappy episodes, and it does not find its footing at all until 3, although there is some nice stuff in 2 as well. But again, it just depends on sensibilities. So if you just already like kitschy 60s television or morality plays in science fiction, find a list of the best 15-20 TOS episodes and start there. And if anybody's curious about my favorite episodes, I've got some videos on the channel where I list them, or you can message me directly and I can give you a few suggestions with TOS. Mirror Mirror is my favorite episode. Trouble with Tribbles is always a fun place to start. Dagger of the Mind is a good first season episode. I can go on. And then, I don't know why I thought of Dagger of the Mind, but I don't know. I like that one. And then, if you want, the most... Before getting to New Trek and whatever, and of course I wouldn't suggest that anybody starts with any of that nonsense, but, again, as I keep having to throw out this caveat, I like Strange New Worlds fine. I still wouldn't suggest anybody start with that show any more than I would suggest anybody start with Enterprise. But if you want something that's as close to modern serialized storytelling as possible, and that's a little bit more sophisticated and quote unquote darker, if that's your cup of tea over individual episodic stories, you definitely want to start with Deep Space Nine. And I would say start with watch the pilot and then jump to season 2, because season 1 is much more like TNG in being like separate episodic episodes. It's still more serialized than TNG is, but it also takes a while to find its footing, and it doesn't really know what it is yet. So, or maybe even watch the last episode of 1 into 2, because it's also really quite good. But yeah, so those would be my 3 big suggestions. I would not suggest anybody start with Voyager or Enterprise. Not that you might not end up really enjoying those shows, but I just don't think that there's a great... I mean, there definitely are a lot of Star Trek fans from back in the mid-90s that did start with Voyager. It's hard for me to tell you whether or not that would be your thing unless I knew you as far as the sensibilities go. But if you, I don't know, if you've heard anything about that show and you thought it seemed kind of interesting and you did want to start there, that, just like TNG, the best place to get hooked into that is the cliffhanger from 3 into 4, which is called Scorpion, and that's the introduction of 7 of 9, who is my favorite character in Star Trek.
Sweet. Very great. Very nice, concise answer. That was good. This next one here is, we might have to go rapid fire because he has 5 questions.
But real quick, before you do that, let me address something that Hayden Spring just said. Hayden Spring says, what Cap just said is the reason I can't do Star Trek. Same with anime. This show sucks, but watch it for this one episode in the middle, but you need to watch the whole thing. No, with Star Trek, with the exception of Deep Space Nine, you really don't have to watch the whole thing. That's what's kind of nice about it. I mean, it's much more anthology. So, admittedly, there's a lot of not great there's a lot of bad or mediocre Star Trek. But when it's firing on all cylinders, it's some of the best science fiction there is. So it's still very much worth looking at. And I have a hard time, admittedly, relating to people with the mentality of, no, if I can't watch it start to finish, I just won't watch it, because I was raised on episodic television and we watched things when they were on, and it was a very long time before I started anything right at the beginning and watched all the way through. So I empathize, but I have not experienced that, or I have a hard time, appreciating that, because I didn't grow up that way. But just take my word for it. It is worth checking out some of the best episodes, sample of at least the first 4 Star Trek shows. And you might find one of them enough to your liking that it's worth going back at the beginning and getting the slog. Because besides the original series, there is not a good first season of Star Trek. Unfortunately.
All right. This next one is from Lone Wolf Jedi of Gotham. And he says, from any live-action Batman iteration, pick each of the following. And he has 5 quick rapid-fire
good Lord.
questions. So,
okay.
Any live-action iteration, any character.
It has to be live action.
Yes. Number 1, a Batman to be your best friend.
Okay, you're not going to list them all. We're just going to...
Well, they're very different.
One
at a time.
This is a good way to do this. I appreciate it. I'm just making sure I'm not supposed to wait on you. A live action to be my best friend, Adam West.
All right. And Alfred to be your father figure.
I'm sorry. There's so many Alfreds. I'm gonna go with animated series. No. You said live action. Crap. Alfred Goff. Or not Alfred Goff. Michael Goff. Michael Goff, who played an Alfred, but Alfred Goff co-created Smallville. Pardon me.
It's all confusing. A Catwoman to be your romantic partner.
Ooh, I feel like I'm revealing too much about myself now. Julie Newmar.
Jim Gordon to be your boss.
How much of this is going to be 60s?
Not this Jim Gordon.
No, certainly not. Well, he'd be so incompetent. I feel like I'd rise through the ranks pretty quickly. I'm gonna go with the Gordon from the Jeffrey Wright, the Batman.
Oh, sweet. And lastly, a villain to be your next door neighbor.
Okay, so the most benign, probably not gonna do anything to you.
Or just Jim Carrey, so you can watch him.
Oh, that's true. That'd be fun. Oh, why are you giving me the better answers that I should have come up with in the first place? I'm gonna go with... Actually, I'm gonna go with the Riddler from Gotham, because that would be hilarious.
All right, well, that was great. We got through that pretty quickly.
Yay!
All right, and he put his picks. His were Christian Bale, Jeremy Irons, and then Julie Newmar, Jeffrey Wright, and Jim Carrey. So
wow.
Almost all the same.
Almost all the same, yeah. Jim Carrey is probably my actual real answer, but...
That was great. Good question, Lone Wolf. And then we'll do one more Patreon, and then jump to the normal chat. Bill,
cool, yeah. And then, guys, we'll do the rest of the Patreon questions later on after the break. I want to make sure that we start interacting with the live viewers as well.
Yeah. Bill Mills.
Yeah.
Is the more recent version... ideological interpretation of the X-Men a good choice for the MCU? What I mean by this is in the Hickman era, where Xavier's dream of cohabitation is gone and the mutants live in their own society.
No, I would not want to see us start there. X-Men traditionally is all about Xavier's dream of coexistence, and if you, I guess I could kind of see, playing devil's advocate for a second, I could kind of see Feige or a producer or an executive somewhere going, let's go with the most recent iteration so that we can get away from anything other screen adaptations did, so we don't look too much like Fox X-Men. But the problem with that is that's not a starting place. That's a very specific point in X-Men history. That's Xavier after years and years and years finally throwing his hands in the air and going, okay, maybe I'm going to have to give up or at least compromise on my dream. Maybe I was wrong. It would come off to audiences that were already into X-Men as too much of a departure and very cynical to start with an Xavier that goes, yeah, my dream is not coexistence, my dream is living apart. And the other problem with it is that is going to come off to, at least to anybody that was paying attention, maybe it's not that big of a deal because nobody cared about this or watched the crap version they made, but that's just the premise of Inhumans. And it's also kind of too close to Eternals. And so when they attempted to turn Inhumans into X-Men, but still in their crappy TV show were, living apart, had their own society, on the moon, and then we're trying to, intermingle on Earth after that, it would be very strange if you basically did the inverse and you tried to make the X-Men look more like the Inhumans. So yeah, I honestly really hope that they don't do that. It is an interesting story to tell, and this is not me giving Hickman crap for finally going there. It was a lot of decades before we finally went that far with it, and what I read of that was wonderful. I know it apparently doesn't get the ending that it should have and that Hickman left it, but House of X, Power of 10, whatever all that is called. What I read of that was really great. But you could get there eventually. I would not want to lead with it.
All right. Like Cap said, we'll get to the other Patreon questions later. I'm going to jump to the first super chat we have of the evening. Senior Sticks, $2.
Thanks, man.
Cap.
Yes.
Remember Pennyworth at your service.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to watch any more of that. Batman's butler. Yeah, I wasn't going to put him in anywhere in my...
You don't want him to be your father figure?
I don't want him to be my father figure. Well, he's just I only watched the first 3 episodes of that show. He's just a spy running around. He doesn't have time to be a father figure. He might grow up and be an okay father figure. Apparently he grows up and becomes the Gotham Alfred, which is preposterous. They're clearly 2 completely different characters. But I've been told that by the end of that show, they just rope it in and say it's the same continuity. I don't know if that's true, because I haven't seen it, but that's what I've heard.
Wow.
Which is nuts. And I wouldn't have even thought they'd be allowed to... So, I don't know if you know this, but it's the same showrunners. Just... Maybe we shouldn't say failing upward. I don't know if going from Gotham to Pennyworth is up, but it's weird that they got, after the failure that was Gotham, they got, overall. I know some people are going to come back and be like, well, it got 5 seasons. People must have been watching it. Yeah, but do you know what Netflix paid to get the rights to put that show on streaming? They lost so much money on that. But anyway, it was... I watched the first 3 episodes of that, and I was like, oh, it's just more Gotham set farther in the past. Okay. Totally, that's what it watched like. It was maybe a little bit more coherent. But then again, Gotham was more coherent at the beginning than it was later. And then I've been told that it just becomes the same continuity, and I'm like, it wasn't even on the same network. I wouldn't think you'd be allowed to do that. I realize it's all Warner Brothers, but usually networks have rights to specific iterations of things, right?
Yeah, maybe they were just vague enough about it that you had to be a really big fan in order to realize that they were doing the same thing.
Yeah. Hey, just bring. So you don't want that V for Vendetta crossover in your life? I mean, I was half curious when they did that because that's hilarious. But yeah, I don't know. If I ever watch that, it will just be on a mini marathon blind commentary stream probably.
And then we have one more super chat from Bricken777.
Yeah.
Where are you up to in Monster anime? I'm waiting for that review, bruh. Please give us a short update on how you're enjoying the anime so far.
Okay, it's been a couple 3 months since I watched it. I have dropped off of that because I was having to look at other things for work and stuff. Yeah, I kind of hate that I do this sometimes, where I'll watch a bunch of a show planning on reviewing it, and then I have to fall off of it, and then I go, it's been a while. Like, am I gonna start over? Am I just gonna, like reach back in the recesses of memory and hope that I remember enough of it to talk about it? So I'm not prepared to talk too much about that right now, but I'll just say I really like what I've seen of it so far, and it has not dropped off yet in the way that I thought Death Note did, as much as I love Death Note. There's a clear place where that kind of falls apart. Monster, I think, is a total of like 75 episodes, and I think I'm at like the 24th, 25th episode maybe, so I'm probably like a third of the way through it. That is a psychological thriller that starts as a hospital drama and then becomes more of a like man on the run kind of thing, because our main character, minor spoilers for that, it's not too long in before this happens, but our main character becomes a fugitive at some point, who's believed to have done a killing that he didn't do, but he is after a murderer who killed as a child and seems to have no soul. And the kind of big ethical question, or I should say like philosophical question through it is it possible for a human being to just be evil in the first place and it have nothing to do with upbringing or environment or anything? It's an unusual anime in that it's set in Germany, and our main character is from Japan, and but nearly everybody else in the show is from Germany or otherwise European, and so everyone is ostensibly speaking German, including our main character, but because it's an anime, we're hearing Japanese. And so, like, it's a lot for my brain to get around, because it's like, okay, everybody's speaking Japanese, but we're supposed to be imagining that they're speaking German, but I'm reading it in English. And I've been watching it subtitled, but there is an English dub. The English dub isn't on Netflix, but I don't know what I'm going to do when I get past the point that Netflix doesn't have episodes anymore, because they don't have all 75 or 77 or whatever it is, so I'm going to have to find another way to watch it. But it's absolutely thrilling. I think the animation is dynamite, and I've got plot confusion and questions in places here and there, but overall it's a real solid psychological thriller, and I would definitely recommend it, particularly if you're already an anime person. But I think it's a pretty good introductory anime, which I feel like I can say with confidence because I've not watched a lot of animes, and I'm finding that that's the genre for anime that I'm most responding to. I've sampled some kind of more out there stuff here and there. It's weird because I'm a science fiction guy, and you'd think that it would be the more high concept stuff that I would be into more often. I mean, Death Note is certainly high concept, and it's fantasy, which is not always my thing. But I'm finding that the more kind of morbid, like whodunit and animes that are just kind of all about death and violent crime and stuff is what I'm responding to the most. It's kind of hitting me in an almost like true crime kind of place, even though Death Note, again, real high concept. Somebody gets a notebook and writes your name in it and you die. But that just in premise was super intriguing in the first place. And then I was really liking it on that level. We had to do an anime film for the Request called... that was also in this vein, that was about multiple personalities, and it was called Blue... It's on the tip of my tongue, I can't think of it. But anyway, so yeah, those are apparently the kinds that I'm most responding to.
Cool. He also left, or this commenter also left another super chat, Bricken777. Hey, what is your rating for The Watchmen 2019 TV show? Is it high quality? Keep up the great work.
I feel like I need to revisit it at some point because I really liked it on first watch. I say first watch. I think I gave it a second viewing when we reviewed it, DJ.
Oh, you did? I only watched it the one time before we talked about it. I remember really, really liking it. And then the ending kind of let me down just a little bit. Not enough for me not to like the show, but it didn't like bring it all the way home for me. But I really, really liked it. And I think a second viewing, the ending, I would either appreciate.
Thank you, guys. That's
more.
what I was trying to think of. Sorry,
yeah.
DJ, go ahead.
I need to give it a second viewing too, and I think the ending, I would either appreciate it more, or it might come down a little bit on a second viewing. Either way, but I really, really liked it at first viewing. We talked about it for a while. I think Dan was with us too.
We did, yeah. We did a long review of that, and that show had very much two camps. It was pretty divisive, and I think some people thought that it was one of those shows that's kind of too pandering or patronizing about its politics. I didn't have that with it, but I also talked to Austin and a couple other people that were really down on it that had some issues with it as a sequel and adaptation that I had not thought of, and I kind of want to watch it again with that lens. And see if I agree with them on some of their issues, because admittedly, I didn't sit down and reread Watchmen again right before I saw that show, but I know that book decently well. I mean, I've read it, probably 4 or 5 times, and on first viewing, or on I guess the couple of viewings I did, stuff didn't jump out at me where I'm like, well, that just doesn't track with the events of the book, which this is clearly supposed to be a sequel to, not the film but the book. A really weird kind of thing to do, where you're doing a TV sequel straight up to a on paper comic book. But it's been a while, so I don't remember exactly what the grievances were. But I remember Austin and a couple other people talking about things that just didn't seem to track, particularly I think with motivations with Veidt. And I kind of want to read the book again right before I watch it, the next time I watch it, and see if any of that happens to jump out at me. But I also think that this is not fair. I mean, it's kind of cheating, because it wants to be what it wants to be, and so it needs to work within the terms that it's laying out, with whatever its rules are. You want to take it on its own terms, but if it's laying itself out as this is supplementary material to or rather, it's a prerequisite that you've read the graphic novel, and then it cheats and it skirts around things and it pretends like things in the book happen differently, that is cheating. At the same time, I found it really easy to watch as kind of its own thing, but I don't know that is really like that's kind of giving it too much of a pass if it does have that problem, because it is a direct sequel to something.
It's funny that you say that, because the one quote that they chose to put on the back of this box of the Blu-ray is a dazzling reinvention.
Do you remember that weird letter that Lindelof wrote and published publicly just before, or a few months before that came out, DJ, where he was like, it's a sequel and it's a reimagining. And he just was saying all kinds of stuff that didn't make any sense. Yeah. Whereas, well, what is it, though, And then I watched it, and then I felt like I sort of got what he was saying.
Yeah, I don't think you have to pick one. I mean, Bates Motel is technically a prequel, but it's a reimagining, too.
No, but there's a difference, DJ. You can be a prequel reimagining before you can be a sequel reimagining. What I mean is, if you're starting before anything that you've watched happens and you're upfront about your rules and you say it's a prequel in the sense that it takes place before anything you've watched, but we're reimagining it such where whatever happens in the future would have to happen differently, like Planet of the Apes, right? The new Planet of the Apes franchise is essentially a prequel reimagining. When you get to the actual Planet of the Apes story, it's not going to look exactly like it did first time around, and it's playing fair with you, and you know that. What the hell is a sequel reimagining? So it takes place after something you've watched, but the piece itself would have to make it super clear how things happened a little bit differently before. I guess Hook is kind of like that. Maybe Hook is a sequel reimagined. But riddle me this. But is the Watchmen TV show? Because I'm not sure. You see what I'm saying? Like, how much of a reimagining is that? Or does it want to directly follow the graphic novel precisely as it was?
Yeah.
If you can't answer that, it's not being fair, and I think that could be a problem with that show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just don't care. I've read the book one time, and I just have the general idea in my head when I was watching the show. So, but yeah, I get that if that's a hang up for you.
Yeah. But I mean, it is that's what's kind of difficult about it is if you're not super familiar with the book and the show does a decent enough job of introducing its character, like presenting them the way it needs to tell the story it's telling. I get why you wouldn't care about that, but if it's if it's having its cake and eating it too, and it's trying to build on personalities and events that have happened already and it's continuing a story, then it's cheating.
Yeah.
So it's complicated.
That is all the super chats we have. So I am going to go back to some regular chat questions. If that's all right.
Let's do that.
Jareth Gerhardt, first one of the evening. Hey, Cap and DJ, what do you think about the official Roger Ebert channel making his reviews into YouTube Shorts? I have mixed feelings about it.
I guess I don't see what the problem is. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd have mixed feelings about it too. I mean, I guess maybe people might not like it because he's passed away now, but he published those, so they're out in the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I'm assuming that the mixed feelings are in cutting it down and making them shorts as opposed to just putting the content up. Because he's not saying there's a Roger Ebert channel, they're putting up his old videos. He doesn't have a problem with that, it doesn't sound like. So, like, what's the reservation exactly?
I don't know. He doesn't clarify.
I don't know. I don't immediately have an opinion about that, I guess. I mean, here's the thing. If you were talking about somebody who had, like, very lengthy, complex, like, YouTube type, I don't know, like video essay reviews, like if Ebert had done that kind of thing, and you're distilling them down to 60-second shorts, and like he's not around to defend like the way you've distilled it down, the way you've made it bare bones. I could kind of see the issue you might have with that, because it would be easy to look at, even if they're done in good faith, it would be easy to look at some of those potentially as like not giving you enough of what was intended, or like reinterpreting the message or something. But Ebert did a couple of different things. He had the very short clip discussions on Siskel and Ebert that it would be very easy to make shorts of on just his end with some of that. And yeah, you wouldn't get the whole 3-5 minutes that it typically was. You wouldn't get both sides of the argument probably, but you could also go look those up. Like, let me also say that real quick. I'll interrupt myself and say that if it gets more people to notice his work and then they go look deeper into it, like that's what I like about that. I guess it's why I don't immediately have a problem with it. But the other thing he would do, and I only know about this because of that YouTube channel, by the way, because I've looked at that, and I've actually talked, by the way, to briefly the folks that make that channel, and I almost got involved with them at one point. It didn't end up happening for whatever reason, but I can't even remember what it was. I was going to do something with them. I can't remember what now. I should go back in messages and things and check. Maybe I should look back into that and message them again.
Maybe they're still waiting on your answer.
I know. I cannot, for the life of me now. I'm so scatterbrained. I can't remember what the deal was, but a couple of years ago, I was talking to them about doing something. Anyway, they Maybe I was just talking about helping them get the word about their channel. Hey, by the way, there's this channel. It's the official Roger Ebert channel. No, the other thing they were putting out, which I didn't even realize, is I guess for his local news, he would do these really super short solo reviews that I had never seen before. They've published a bunch of those, and they are by themselves not much longer than like a minute and a half. So, like, if they're taking those and distilling them down into shorts, they're giving you almost all of it.
Yeah.
So I've not looked into it. I don't know what their shorts look like, but, like, shorts content is just, these days, one of the main ways that channels get themselves out there. And if it gets people in, because the short content, those feeds, it's a completely different audience I mean, it's some of the same people that are looking at regular YouTube videos, but you reach a larger audience, more people will see you, and if somebody goes, oh, Roger Ebert, I like him, he's interesting, I didn't realize that there was a library of his content on YouTube, they'll go subscribe. I think for the majority of people that would care about that and would even get who they were looking at, they're not going to only look at the shorts. They're probably going to go look at that channel and do a deep dive and, see more of the actual content that he made. So I don't immediately have a problem with it.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. Daniverse.
Yeah.
What's the farthest you've ever walked? He says I did over an house once. I think it was an autocorrect. I think he meant over an hour once.
Yeah, I'm not sure the farthest I've ever walked. Not super far. I've never done like a, cross-country hike or anything crazy like that. So yeah, probably not more than a few miles. And I like walking, but I haven't done any, crazy super long hikes or anything. I bet DJ has.
Yeah, when Grace and I went to Oregon, we did some really long, hikes all day. And I'm sure, or maybe, and in Virginia, where was it? Tennessee, somewhere we went on another van trip. We did the longest hike I think we did was all day long. It was pretty grueling, but at the top there was a really awesome cliff that we could sit on the edge of and got some cool pictures. So I think that one of those. I'm terrible at remembering names and where we did things, but I have pictures, so that's all. There's the memories there.
That's cool. No, I would do a thing like that. I don't know if I would ever want to do mountain climbing, but I would do long mountain hikes. And I've done mountain hikes, but not super long ones or anything. I've done that a couple times in Arkansas.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of fun. That one was pretty exhausting. I don't know if I would do one like that, or I'd be eager to do one like that again. But most of them are not as bad, and there's some sights along the way that keep it interesting. That was just kind of all the way to the top of the mountain, and then you get one good view. So that was tough. But yeah, I don't think we've ever answered that one, Cap.
No, that's new. 269 shows. They are still finding things we've not talked about before. DJ, we're right at the hour mark. Let's go ahead and take a break.
All right.
And guys, feel free to start putting in some more questions if there's something you'd like us to talk about for the second half. Oh, and we had a few super chats, and I totally forgot the gong.
Three to catch up on. There you go.
Anyway, we will see you again in about 3.5 minutes, everybody. And we're back. Welcome everybody to the second half of the Captain Logan show. And I have not mentioned this yet. I always forget to do this at the beginning of the show, but tonight we are indeed going to have a new Geekvolution After Dark on Patreon, finally. It's been a few weeks since we've done this. Brandon's coming over. Austin will be here for it. We're going to talk about some stuff that we don't usually talk about on the channel. It'll be real fun, loosey-goosey, uncensored. Come in and interact with us. It'll be a real good time. Patreon.com/Geekvolution. Once again, just the $2 tier gets you access to that, and again, along with questions at the beginning of the Captain Logan show, and sometimes right now. And DJ is going to give us some more Patreon questions before we get back to your live questions and comments. Go ahead, DJ.
All right, we have two that are about the same thing. Goofster123 says thoughts on the Spider-Man 2 trailer, and Saqib Tariq says thoughts on the symbiote suit and new additions to Spider-Man 2.
So I was going to avoid looking at the trailer and anything at all to do with this game for a while, but there was interest, and I saw those two questions, and then other people were sending me messages about it, and I was like, okay, fine, it's 12 minutes, I'll go ahead and look at the gameplay, and I did go ahead and do that so that I could respond just very briefly to it. I'm not going to have a lot of thoughts right now. DJ, I don't know when I'm going to ever end up playing it. Yeah. I'm not going to cover it when it comes out, almost certainly, because I don't have a PS5 and there aren't any other system sellers for me. And maybe that ought to be enough to get me to buy it. Like, I really like the first game. I'm kind of going to hate not playing it right away, but at the same time, I don't want to spend $500 just to play it. Like, I know I'm going to get that system and hardly use it for much else because I just don't have the time to play modern games. And as a lot of people know, I'm not a big modern gamer. I don't like a lot of things about the industry right now, and I don't like how... I don't mean to be, negative and kind of a sourpuss about this. People are excited. If you've got the system or this is a system seller for you, more power to you. I'm sure you'll have a great time with it. It looks great. I mean, I have nothing but positive things for the most part to say about the trailer, certainly, or the gameplay. But man, I just don't like overall, and I'm not saying that this is necessarily going to be the case with the Spider-Man game, but just how overall kind of anti-consumer the video game industry at large is right now. I don't like that new games are $70 now, and a lot of this is just like me personally and the situation I'm in, where like I know I'm not going to put that much time into stuff. I know I'm not going to spend enough time with it to spend that kind of money. So I don't know when I'm going to get around to talking about it. So I just wanted to go ahead and get that out of the way and say, if you're expecting a review from me right away, you're almost certainly going to be disappointed, unless like something happens and a bunch of money drops on me for some reason that I'm not expecting right now, like if I have a really good birthday or something for some reason, or, whatever, I don't know, like I would consider it, but I don't know. I've got other things to spend my money on, and I don't think I'm going to get that right away. Having said that, everything looks like it's moving in the right direction when it comes to the black costume, the symbiote Spider-Man. I forget that voice actor's name, but I love the voice that he's putting on when he's in the black suit, where he's just subtly like a little rough around the edges.
Just subtle. He's not going, shocker!
He's a little darker, and you can tell that that's an influence, but it's not... he's not going full tilt that way, at least not yet. I like the angle of his kind of having a sidekick with Miles Morales, and the influence of the symbiote kind of affecting his relationship with Miles, and it might mess up his mentorship to some degree. That's kind of a new angle. I think it's kind of neat that we're making, at least at the start of the game, it looks like, I don't know where it goes ultimately, making Kraven the Hunter one of, if not the main villains of the game, while we're dealing with Black Costume, because of course that harkens back to, and they're not just straight up doing that story, but it harkens back to Kraven's Last Hunt, and like Spider-Man being having that influence being in the alien costume while Kraven is hunting him is kind of fun, because that means that Kraven is hunting. I just had this thought. That means that Kraven is hunting an alien being as opposed to just like a guy dressed up as an animal and doesn't even realize it. So like there's sort of this angle of like hunting a unusual rare creature. That's kind of cool. What I
the Sony crossover, Kraven versus Predator.
Actually, that's a great idea. I would love Kraven versus Predator. That's a great idea. Why? I don't know that there have been any Alien Predator crossovers with the Marvel comics, because we had a bunch of it with DC, but I don't know if they ever got together with Marvel and did anything. But boy, that's a great idea.
Well, they just did that Predator movie that was a period piece, so anything's on the table.
Yeah, I mean, probably not that, but just because...
Don't underestimate Sony, man. Sony can...
But that means they have to... I don't know.
I'm just kidding. I don't think it's going to happen, obviously.
Well, that means they have to play nice with Disney. That's the problem. That just becomes a rights issue.
Because I guess that's owned by... that's so weird.
Because it's Fox, and Disney owns all that now.
Well, Sony played nice with Disney for Spider-Man for a little bit, so who knows?
Yeah, well, I'm less worried about Sony and more about Disney on that end, honestly. But anyway, the combat looks fun. I love the way the symbiote moves. I got to be honest with you. I found that first game kind of tedious in places with just the sheer number of enemies that you had to fight, just hordes and hordes, and it got repetitive, and I wasn't the best at it, and I don't know, my thumbs got sore, and so like there's a part of me also looking at this going like, even if I did get it right away, it's gonna be a little bit of a chore to play. But then it's not that it doesn't look fun. The symbiote moves, obviously way different from regular Spider-Man. He's got tendrils that come out, and DJ, you played a lot more like earlier Spider-Man games than I did, so it'd be interesting to have you look at it and see how it compares to some of those other like symbiote and Venom games.
Yeah, there's a whole symbiote game, Web of Shadows, that it's probably pulling a little bit from. I got the Miles game when it came out, and I never even popped it in once. It's still somewhere. I don't know where it is. I can't make time for games. So I'll probably never get a PS5. I wish it was coming to. I wish I could play it on my Switch, because I think I am gonna buy the Harry Potter game for my wife when it comes to Switch, just because she's a huge Harry Potter fan, and she'll like walking around in that world. But I'm not gonna buy a whole new system right now.
I would suggest. I mean, maybe you guys won't care as long as it's like not horribly broken, but like when that does get ported to Switch, I would check a review or two real quick before you buy it, because I'm a little bit concerned about how buggy that's going to be on Switch. Like that game is, I'm talking about the Hogwarts Legacy game, because it's very graphically intensive, and when they said that was going to go to Switch, I was kind of shocked that they would even attempt it. So like hopefully it works again, because DJ, if it does, I'm right there with you. I'm also going to get that on Switch. I've not played and bought that yet, but like, and I could get it on PC, but I'm leery of that. I don't know how that's going to be on Switch.
Yeah, hopefully they can pull it off, because it's coming out. Oh, it's not coming out till November. Wow. So yeah, that'll be a while.
Hopefully that means they've really taken their time on figuring out how to port that thing. But yeah, the Spider-Man, even Spider-Man PS4, I don't see how they wouldn't have to like massively compromise the graphics to even get that on a Switch, much less the PS5 game. Good Lord. Because it looks gorgeous, and it's got insane textures and lighting and stuff. But the other thing I wanted to mention with that is with Kraven being one of the big villains, it is one of those things where it being an interactive experience limits the storytelling a little bit, where it's like Kraven can't just go to the city and hunt Spider-Man. He's got to bring like 6 billion foot soldiers with him. so that you have hordes of enemies to fight. And that just immediately takes me out of the narrative, which is why sometimes I kind of wish I could either just play a game or have a story. Like, I have a really hard time appreciating both simultaneously sometimes, because I'm like, well, you're obviously having to massively change how you would tell this story just to be able to make it interactive.
Yeah.
And it worked okay with the Arkham games, but even that first Spider-Man game, I thought it was held back a little bit by just having to fight that many bad guys.
Yeah, that's not usually Spider-Man's style. That's why I really liked so many Spider-Man games. I can't remember the name. The interdimensional one that was on whatever system.
Shadow Dimensions.
Shadow Dimensions, because there was so much different kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
That was really fun. And one of them was like fighting a lot of guys, which was the symbiote one, which makes sense. But then you've got 3 other types of gameplay that are very different.
Yeah. I've been meaning to go back to that. I finally bought a copy a couple of years ago because I played it when it came out, but I didn't buy it. I worked at a game store, so I just borrowed it. And then for some reason, that stayed expensive on 360 for a long time. That was like a $40, $50 game forever.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It was a fun game. I liked it a lot. But yeah,
the sequel was cheaper. It stayed at like $25 for a long time, but Shadow Dimensions was higher. But it's a good game. I finally pulled the trigger on it. I think one of those questions also was asking just what I thought of the symbiote suit, and I mean, I'm a little bit of a purist. I don't love the padding. I don't really know why Black Costume Spider-Man has to have shoulder pads and stuff and what looks like a vague belt, but it's it's true enough to what it looked like originally. It's like, well, you're just gonna have to live with textures and things with these games. Like, they're always gonna have that. And I guess the counter argument I could throw out, I could kind of fight myself for a second, would be, well, we did all of that with Agent Venom, but that was supposed to look more like a soldier outfit. And there's not any soldier in Peter Parker. Like, why would he immediately go to shoulder pads? That's my only gripe with it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at images right now because I haven't seen it. He's got like tumors on his shoulder, like bulgy symbiote bulges.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need to, reinvent the wheel. I mean, it doesn't look that different. So, I mean, like, I'm quibbling some, but considering some of the, like, extra suits that you could play with that you would unlock in the first game were just kind of more or less off the page, and they didn't feel the need to add a bunch to it. It'd be kind of nice if we did that with this. Like, Scarlet Spider was pretty much just Scarlet Spider. The 29-9 suit looks spectacular.
Yeah, they spiced that one up in a good way with all the sparkly stuff. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, but I always kind of think of that suit as looking like that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. I have the first issue of that book, and on the cover art, he's very shiny and all, and it looks great.
Yeah, it's toned down in the interiors, but
yeah, just kind of blue.
I have the full run of that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I
think I have the second and third volume too that Peter David did, during the Marvel Now days. But there's been more since then. But I kind of quit somewhere with everything. So I don't own all of any title anymore with like the multiple volumes because I didn't keep going with stuff. But I'm sorry, DJ, I cut you off.
No, I'm just looking at pictures of the suit. It looks like it changes quite a bit. Like there's different iterations of it in different images I'm seeing.
Oh, that's cool. It has like an evolution.
He's like a putty. Like this one, he looks like a super putty. Or what are those putties called? I guess the generals or whatever that have like more stone stuff on them.
Yeah, I think those are super putties.
But yeah, and then
in the comics, she had chaos putties. Those are gnarly.
Oh wow. And then he looks more normal in some of these. I think that it just kind of moves. But
see, this is why I don't want to give too many opinions on things that I haven't got to play yet or watch or whatever, because we're just looking at it completely out of context of what it's actually going to do. And it wouldn't have occurred to me, oh, maybe it's like Spawn. It's got evolutions. And that's actually a really good idea with the symbiote suit. I like that a lot.
Yeah, there's one image that it looks really cool. I don't know if that's... And then the problem is I don't know if any of this is real because you've got like the computer version of the game that people are making mods for that are like better than the actual game these days, which is very, very confusing. But I get those in my feed all the time. It's like realistic, amazing Spider-Man suit, and then it looks a realistic Ultimate Spider-Man suit, and it looks amazing.
Side-scrolling hero says the outfit. Oh, sorry. I feel like the designers had to put their stamp on it in a way. Speaking of the black costume, yeah, and I'm sure that's what that's how they feel about it. I just fundamentally disagree with that. It's a classic suit, and I don't mean that you can never change anything, but like, what's the point? It's kind of. It was always my favorite. It's kind of the perfect Spider-Man suit. There's no reason to monkey with it. But I'm sure what they're thinking is, well, we gave you our own iteration of the Spider-Man suit with PS4. And I also didn't think they needed to do that either, with the white and everything. And it's fine. It's not a bad-looking suit, but riddle me this, DJ.
It'll probably be a classic black suit you can wear.
Maybe. But I also think it's possible that they're thinking, well, we didn't change it enough to give you that. But let me ask you this, DJ. Riddle me this. Would that game had sold... Is it possible that game would not have sold as well if it didn't have its own distinct, like, variant suit that everything was sold on with it? That you could, like, merchandise real hard and separate from everything else Spider-Man? Like, if it was just the classic... standard kind of Ditko Spider-Man suit, does that game sell as well, or did it need something that's iconic in its own right?
That's a great question. It's hard for me to answer because I'm so disconnected from the cultural response that game had, and I immediately changed the suit to the classic suit as soon as I started playing. So that suit has no impact on my life at all, but I
didn't use it either.
It does for a lot of people that they associate it with that suit.
I used Scarlet Spider up until I got the 2099 suit, and then that's what I used the rest of the game.
Yeah, those are two of my favorites too. I also really like the classic comic book cell shaded one, even though it doesn't really match the rest of the game it's in. It looks kind of weird when you're playing.
There's a lot of stuff like that with Arkham also.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, that's not a good example either, because you're right. Like they would have totally different styled suits that don't fit with everything else you're looking at. Whereas Arkham would go, well, here is Batman Beyond, but like it's not flatter. It's the same shape of the suit of the the character. So you have just a really bulky Beyond. It's very strange looking.
Yeah, they at least changed the models in the Spider-Man game, because you got the Spider-Verse version where he's like completely different proportions and stuff.
Yeah. Could you play as Bagman Spider-Man in that? I can't remember. Did they have that suit?
I don't think so. I know there's a
Spider-Man game
a
that
couple of the suits they left off. Yeah, you can be that suit in the best Spider-Man game ever, the PS1 game.
We're still talking about. I'm gonna finally just break down and play that, and then do it.
That was the coolest thing about that game. All the bonus hidden characters and special costumes. You could be Spider-Man Unlimited in that game, and he could actually turn invisible.
Oh, really?
Which was really cool.
That's cool.
You could be the symbiote Spider-Man, and then you never ran out of web. Like all the suits actually had like special powers and stuff.
Oh, Carl Maxey says, yeah, you did have Bagman. I couldn't remember. I thought maybe I played with him once, but it's been a long time now.
Yeah. And then when and in the original game, when you played with Captain Universe Spider-Man, you were invulnerable. Like it was really cool. They had all the different suits had their own effects.
It's neat that it's not just skins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something else I meant to mention real quick before we move on about that gameplay trailer. I keep saying trailer. It was like 12 minutes. It had gameplay and it had cutscenes.
That's really long.
Both Spider-Man and Miles Spider-Man, like both Peter and Miles. I know we say this all the time, but for the love of God, give him his own name. Peter and Miles both have a glide ability now that makes it look like you can get around just insanely fast anywhere you're going.
Oh, wow.
It makes me wonder just how big the map is going to be. Because it looked like they were moving so fast. I'm like, I don't know that you're even going to need fast travel anymore.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm getting to that part now. Wow, this
And
is 13 minutes.
and I'm also wondering, yeah, but it's a quick 13 minutes, and it gives you a good sense of where the story starts, and I don't know, it's worth looking at. If you think you'll ever play it, or just to know what they're doing with it. But anyway, oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, it also made me wonder how often you're gonna flip between Peter and Miles, like, because at the beginning of the game you're doing a lot of that.
Plays Mary Jane. That's the most important thing.
And I'm sure those sections will be totally cut because that's the only thing anybody complained about, including me. I hated that. But I know some people liked it. I thought it was not so great. But
it just switches to a Scooby-Doo game, and you're like rummaging around a museum for a little bit.
One of the comments I saw on that video right away was, "See Avengers, like this is how you seamlessly jump between characters, and this is what that Avengers game should have been look like." Or pardon me, I can't talk. What it should have been like.
Should have been look like.
Well, let's move on. I'm getting unfortunately southern.
All right, we got one last Patreon question, and it's a long one here. It's from One Reply.
Everybody strap in.
I don't know if that's his name or if the name didn't get copied over when you sent this, but
no, that was it. It was
okay.
It just came up as One Reply.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Everybody make a sandwich, get a latte. Let's listen to this question. Here we go.
It's not that long. A long-time listener, first-time commenter.
Oh, thanks, man.
First, I just want to say...
Sorry, anytime anybody says it like that, it makes me feel so legit. You know?
Yeah.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
All right. He says, first, I just want to say thanks for the new way to interact with the show. It's perfect for people like me who live in far-off time zones.
You're welcome, and I feel like an idiot for not thinking to do it like 3 years ago. Why wasn't this always a Patreon perk while we've had the Captain Logan show?
I don't know, man. We can't win them all.
I mean, I will say I was a little bit worried about it taking up too much of the show. I haven't been getting a lot of complaints about that yet, and I feel like we've so far I've still been able to keep up with super chats and stuff, but we'll have some shows where it gets maybe dicier, but we can always just move some questions to next show when we have to. But anyway, sorry. I'll let you finish the whole question.
He says, I've been a viewer since 2014. Appreciate all your work on the channel. It's one of the best places on the internet for healthy, thoughtful, and fun discussions about all things geeky.
What a nice thing to say. Thank you.
Now for my super silly question.
Okay.
Which comic book character do you think eats the best breakfast? Take care and good luck with the rest of the show.
I'm going to go with Bronze Tiger.
Oh, wow. Well, what does he eat?
Whatever it is, it's made of meat. I mean, have you seen the muscles on that guy? Bronze Tiger is jacked. No, there's no way Bronze Tiger doesn't have breakfast. And he doesn't have like a big, hearty breakfast. That is a steak and eggs man, that Bronze Tiger. You can say that about all kinds of muscular characters, but I just decided to go for the last thing anybody thought I would say. Bronze Tiger.
I certainly wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. Give me a good Marvel answer there, DJ.
Oh, I was thinking more like someone like Tony Stark, who's a millionaire and has like a private chef, and he probably eats the best breakfast every day. He gets whatever he wants.
Yeah,
Almonds.
That's a good point. Yeah, whoever's just super rich, Oliver Queen.
Yeah,
probably has. Well, at least until he's broke.
Batman should.
Iron Man also ends up broke. Right? All of these guys get broke at some point. It's the rich superheroes' equivalent of losing your superpowers. It happens to all of them.
You have to go broke. You have to go bankrupt at some point. But yeah, Batman...
Just remember, DJ, your broke is not the same as Tony Stark's broke.
No. He's probably massively in debt if he goes broke.
Don't forget about that.
Has to declare bankruptcy.
That was a whole silly Matt Fraction thing, where Matt Fraction's run, Tony Stark is broke, but he still has enough money to make, like, crazy... tech and stuff, and somebody calls him on it. They're like, well, if you're broke, how'd you do this? And he goes, my broke is not the same as your broke. That was the explanation.
Wow. That's interesting. That's when you write yourself into a corner. I think Batman has to have a much bigger staff to keep up with Wayne Manor. There's no way Alfred's doing all that stuff. There's no way he's making a breakfast every morning. Like that. There's no way he's cleaning that whole house. They're at least hiring a cleaning service, a laundry service. and all kinds of stuff.
It's never depicted that way.
It's impossible.
Except for...
There's no, like, you can't even... Alfred would never have a chance to sit down, ever. If you that big mansion like that, that's insane.
No, he definitely has a secret, but I don't think of how exactly he manages all of it. But I don't think his secret is other servants that we don't know about. I think it's, even in like past decades of Batman stories, I think it's futuristic type tech. I think Batman has such great gadgets that Alfred's got like a robot cleaning crew that we never know about.
Yeah, the Wayne Manor's self-cleaning.
Yeah, it just cleans itself. It's like the Starship Enterprise. The ship cleans itself. He's got drones that do it.
Drones. Just blame it on drones.
He's got those like totalitarian bat drones from Kingdom Come, but instead of going around and policing the streets, they just clean the house.
That must be it.
Thank you so much for finally leaving a question and chatting with us, and I'm glad if that's helping people that don't live in our time zone, or any close to our time zone, to leave questions.
Yeah. We'll take you for a ride.
And so I will... Oh, my God. We should have done it. I'm slacking off.
You've got so many responsibilities.
I got to do this. I got to be going it.
I want to take you for a ride. I want to take you for a ride.
Spin it.
I want to take you for a ride.
Okay, is it time for more Super Chats, DJ?
It is time for a Super Chat from Carl Maxey.
Carl Maxey!
Can we expect Grant Gustin Flash to make a cameo in the Flash movie to have everything come full circle?
My money is on no, that doesn't happen. But it also wouldn't totally shock me or anything. I think it's definitely plausible. Where I'm at with that movie, and honestly, let me backtrack a second because I meant to talk about this at the beginning. Isn't it weird that this is like kind of the year of Flash, but I'm not excited about any of it?
The year of Flash.
Because like hopefully that movie's good. I can't get super excited about it, partly because I don't like Ezra Miller, and part of it, and I didn't like the acting in the first place. Before even the legal shenanigans and all of that, I try not to let that affect me too much as far as going to see a movie. With this one, it's weird, right? Like I get people that are like, I don't want to support that movie because that actor's done some crazy things and shouldn't probably be allowed to make money on this movie or whatever. I get people feeling that way. It's not going to keep me from going, but I feel that way more with this than I have with other things. I will say that. But so there's that aspect of it, but I'm really, again, hopefully it's okay. I'm just having a hard time not expecting it to be more like really flat, routine, tugging at your nostalgia strings, and there's not really any substance or weight to it or anything. And it could just be a super fun, crazy comic book movie. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not super. Every time I see more things about it, I'm like, this could be a chore, man. Like none of the humor is landing so far with just the context of the trailers, but it's trailers, it's whatever. Sometimes they don't show you anything like the best stuff, so I don't know. But anyway, my assumption this whole time has been there aren't going to be any real surprises as far as other shows and movies and continuities that we're familiar with that wend their way into that movie, like cameos and things. And maybe there will be. I don't even know why I'm thinking about it like that. My imagination has not gone anywhere with, oh gee, I wonder who's going to show up in this. I keep thinking it's going to be like Crisis on Infinite Earths with CW, where we'll just know about everything already. And the difference is, of course, they haven't told us about a ton of them. But I think it could very easily be that everything they are doing we know about already. Like, it's Zod and it's Michael Keaton Batman, and it's another Flash, and it's the Supergirl that they made up for this, and then that's it. And Ben Affleck. There's plenty of room potentially for other stuff. It just hasn't even really occurred to me that there would be other stuff.
Yeah, there's people in the comments who know about other cameos, but
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, I guess now I know there will be, but my imagination had not been sparked with that. So, if there are other things, then it's more likely that that will happen. And then that'll be weird because it will rope it definitively, kind of, at least for, again, the 15 people that still consider themselves Arrowverse fans. It will really solidify, oh, look, it's the same continuity. And it's like, I mean, who cares? It's such an easy cheat. Well, we've got a multiverse, and it's kind of hard to contradict anything in multiverse unless you say there's a finite number of them, of universes, right? But, like, the Ezra Miller Flash showed up in that. So when Grant Gustin Flash shows up in this, like, it'll really solidify, oh, look, the crisis happened technically in this continuity. And I don't know, who cares at this point? No,
Yeah.
AMC, please don't spoil any cameos or anything.
yeah.
I definitely don't want to know going in.
Nah. Let's move on before we spoil this for somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Daniverse, what's a franchise you've always wanted to explore more, but just never had the time to do it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody's upset with me for mentioning Affleck.
Oops.
I don't know. Usually when stuff is in trailers, I consider it fair game because people ask me to talk about trailers all the time. So it wouldn't have occurred to me to, not bring up that he's in that because he's been in all the marketing. But yeah, if I spoiled something you didn't want to know, sorry about that. And there's been a ton of merchandising with him and stuff too. Like, it didn't occur to me that anybody would even be able to avoid knowing at this point that he's there. But like, am I also supposed to not mention that Zod's in it? Like, I'm not sure how to talk about anything at all with that movie without saying things that are in the trailers. Anyway, so apologies, but I also don't know how I would have avoided that. Anyway, good, DJ.
Daniverse wants to know, what's a franchise you've always wanted to explore more, but just never had the time to do so?
Oh, tons. One thing that I keep wending in and out of, and I've still never watched anything like as much as I've meant to, is Stargate. And, like, I've seen all of Atlantis, but it's been a really long time. SG-1, I keep inching forward with. I've watched through, like, I think middle of 4th season at this point, finally, but that's a 10-season show. Like, I keep dropping off of it. And not because I'm not interested. I just end up latching on to other stuff and not getting back to it. So, yeah, that's a big holy grail for me to 100% watching, to 100% watch, because I like it a lot. Oh, there's tons of stuff. I'm thinking, like lots of sci-fi stuff I've never gotten around to. The Expanse, I saw the pilot of. I never watched any more of it. I've talked about that a million times. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that aren't coming to me right now that as soon as we finish, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, there's that show I meant to watch. But yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've always wanted to get into this, but recently I've wished that I had seen more of the Godzilla movies. I've only seen the original, and that seems to be a big franchise for a lot of people. And there's a huge, big deluxe Criterion box set that's gorgeous for the Showa era stuff, at least. And yeah, I'd like to eventually watch a few more of those.
Jennifer says Cap gives up. Well, it's hard to think of sometimes of things that you've not looked at.
Yeah. Because if you thought of it, you might have watched them.
I might have, yeah, my mind blanked because I know there's like a big list of things. Maybe I should actually write them down that I keep meaning to finally start. And yeah, I'm blanking. They're not coming to me.
You probably know in the comments because he's mentioned it before, so let us know. What are things Cap has always wanted to get into?
Well, I named a couple things anyway.
Oh, right. DNA
Yeah.
left us a question at the beginning of the show. What working director not already working with Marvel would/could you see coming in as a fresh flavor to hook audiences who will miss Gunn? Not someone with his style per se.
To take over for Guardians.
I don't know if he specifically is talking about Guardians. He just says a new flavor to bring to Marvel to replace Gunn.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but I mean, that's what Gunn was doing, so I'm going to assume that he means specifically Guardians.
Yeah.
Boy.
But is Guardians going on? I guess I haven't seen the third one, so I don't know if it's going on without Gunn or not.
We don't know yet if they're gonna, take a new team, and make movies. Or there's been a lot of talk about potential like singular character movies, like maybe Star-Lord will get a movie. And Chris Pratt has said that he's open to that, but no, I'm thinking, because a lot of the directors I like are like not working anymore. So like I'm hesitating because I'm just not looking at enough like current stuff right now to know like who the really cool, more quirky kind of up and comers might be to do a thing like that. Who directed Everything Everywhere All at Once? I could see that. I could see those guys.
Daniels.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't want them to get sucked.
Well, see, that's the other thing too, though,
No.
DJ, is I was also hesitating to say anybody. Because anybody that's doing more independent stuff right now, I knew you immediately were going to be like, oh, don't give them, like, big, blockbuster work. Like, no, I'm with you, but I got to answer the question with something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Mangold could do it. He's a very particular style. He's doing Indiana Jones, which is much more Marvel-y than Logan, obviously, even though Logan's a Marvel thing. But
I don't see Mangold doing something quite that comedic, though.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully, I hope the Marvel movies don't stay as comedic as they've been. But I don't know how that Indiana Jones movie. I've heard it's not getting good pre-reviews.
It's gonna bomb hard. It looks like. It does not look like it's going to do very well.
That's unfortunate.
And it got bad pre-reviews when usually a movie like that would get really good reviews, even if it ultimately doesn't land and people don't like it. Like, that was really surprising, because that was one of those movies that they let critics see real early, which usually means they've got a lot of confidence in it. And critics weren't happy. It was really surprising. DNA says the Daniels... very nearly became Marvel people. They almost did Loki. If I knew that, I'd forgotten about it. So yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm very nervous when Feige starts saying, like, we only want to go after, like, really well-known, talented directors now. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't know how many of those people want to work with you at this point. But then also, well, then you're going to take them away from making stuff that is, more original and interesting. And
yeah, or not always. Sometimes they could get, like, Sam Raimi hadn't done anything in like over a decade, and they brought him back. So I guess they could get a director that's well known but also not really working.
That's a good point. Yeah, so not up and comers, but people that are just like kind of sitting around not doing anything.
Yeah.
So you're saying that their average director now is going to be aged 60? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, that makes sense.
That's how you get the Gen Zers on board. I've got one other question here, so feel free to...
I'm not even going to see Indy 5, probably.
Yeah, I have no idea. I haven't even thought about whether I'm going to see that or not.
Unless I get a lot of requests where people just really want to hear me talk about that. I don't really have any interest in going to that.
Connor left a review on Letterboxd that I saw a couple days ago where it's like, I can't wait for the age of Crystal Skull apologists.
Oh, yeah. That always happens, doesn't it?
Just like what happened with Star Wars.
Yeah.
The prequels.
The sequels weren't good, so that magically means the prequels are now. What kind of sense does that make? Like, sometimes stuff that's not great looks a little better when you compare it to something else, where, like, everything's
Yeah, I think
relative.
that's all it is.
But it's like, if you say, oh, we have to go back and re-examine things we didn't like because something came out in the same franchise that we like less, isn't that just lowering your standards? That all that is? Like, oh, I didn't even know this kind of bad was possible. That means these movies are great. Devontae Brown says, watch it, Cap, in all caps. Okay, so that's one. That's one person that wants me to see that. DNA, the fan-fortastic apologists have already started coming out, and the MCU FF aren't even cast yet. I have not met that person. I've not met one person that has that.
I want to meet someone that considers themselves a fan-fortastic apologist. I guess I would kind of be a fan-fortastic apologist for what it could have been, but it got so messed with and ruined by all the shenanigans that went on.
No, absolutely. There was clearly something there, at least potentially.
Yeah, there was a direction there. It just got completely derailed, and I was liking the first third.
And I'm not going to be like, release the what's-his-face cut.
The Trank cut.
The Trank cut. Because I don't know that there wasn't so much monkeying going on with it even as it was being filmed, that there's a great version of that movie that exists if you can get all the prints. But as he was conceptualizing it, I'm sure there was something there.
Yeah. But you'd have to make like an animated version or something, because he like lost his mind like while they were shooting it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not already the stuff to make that cut with.
Yeah.
Hey, DJ, guess what?
What's up?
I'm gonna get probably
another tattoo.
I don't know for sure yet. Yeah, I'm gonna get another tattoo pretty soon. That's what I was gonna say. I'm so predictable.
Yeah, you haven't even mentioned that. I don't know why that just came to my brain.
I'm so predictable. God, I gotta get less predictable. Next time, I gotta make it like.
You should have said like a new cat.
A skateboard. Yeah, something that just. Really? You gonna go? Okay. Don't die. I'm gonna do something way safer. I'm gonna get tattoos.
Yeah. What are you gonna get?
I'm gonna get a Lord Zed staff, and I'm gonna get it like right here.
Ah.
I found a really cool design that somebody made specifically for a tattoo that's like the top of the Zed staff. It's the Z, and I was like, that's neat.
I'll steal that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's cool. So you'll have a
no, that's a good point. I should have told you where it came from. Shh.
Sorry. Cap has a totally original idea.
I'll steal that.
For a tattoo.
Yeah.
So now you have the good guys and the bad guys.
Donald Wright, keep the Sega tattoo theme going. Well, it's not going to go on this arm. I do want to get more Sega tattoos on this arm. I mean, I've already messed that up a little bit with the Geeflution logo, but I started with that. So yeah, no, I do want to get some more Sega stuff here. I haven't decided
we could get a Sega game. You don't know. There could be a Geeflution Sega game someday.
That would be cool, yeah. But we'd have to make it based on the fact that we have a tattoo and a logo, I guess. I don't know.
Games have been made from less. There's a Cool Spot game that was made on a logo.
Hey, that's not fair. That's not made on less. The Cool Spot game is based on commercials. Did you not see my video on that?
I did see your analysis of the Cool Spot phenomenon.
Yeah, I did a whole, what do you call it, retrospective.
Yeah.
Years ago.
That just makes me mad that there was never an Ernest video game. Like with all the stuff Ernest did. He had like 9 movies, a billion commercials, TV show. He had all this stuff. He should have got a video game. I would definitely play an Ernest video game. It'd be great.
Dude, that is such a good point. Like, how did that never happen? And you think of some
of
the crazy crap that got games, like Wayne's World got a game, and it sucks. But that got it, and not that?
Yeah,
not
Ernest was huge in the 90s, which was prime time for those kind of games.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one. Where was the Crocodile Dundee game?
There you go. If not just an educational, like, computer game, at least.
Yeah. How did that not happen? Why would it be educational?
I don't know, teach kids about animals or something.
Oh, okay. It wasn't the Crocodile Hunter, DJ. I'm talking about the movies.
You know what?
Crocodile Dundee.
I mixed up my crocodiles from time to time.
See, I thought maybe that's what you were doing. Where was the Tybo video game?
Now that should have made a comeback for Wii.
Where
Or
was the
Kinect.
Blue Man Group game?
That would be fun too. Well, we should do this. Top 10 90s missed opportunity video games.
Where was Stomp the video game?
Wow. How come you can come up with these ridiculous things off the top of your head, but not shows that you should have checked out?
I don't know.
We only have useless information in our brains.
I guess so, yeah. No, I think it's because I don't see enough like commercials and ads and things for shows anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's all just whatever the headers are for streaming services, and I'm not doing as much streaming as I used to. So like I'm having to go back like a couple of months to think, oh yeah, there were some shows that I was kind of kicking around, maybe watching. There's more things that I started that I haven't finished. Like I just forgot to do it, honestly. I still need to finish Last of Us. I forgot all about it. Like I was liking that show, I just didn't finish it. I got 5 kids and a job, guys. Like,
Yeah, I can't do TV at all anymore. I got to stick with movies just because it's one thing I can sit down and finish and then move on to another thing. I don't have time to commit like weeks or months to ongoing shows.
and I mean, I typically don't. Okay, we got 10 minutes left on the show. In the show. We got 10 minutes of show left.
All right. Well, I got a really cool question from Bob Garland.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
He says, if Bruce Timm left DC Animation to do a Marvel animated series, what Marvel series would you want him to see him do? Personally, I'd love a Bruce Timm's Fantastic Four. That's what I was thinking. So he took the best answer.
Yeah.
Bruce Timm Marvel series.
It's so lateral, it's kind of obvious, but I can't help but say Daredevil.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of right there. But Bruce Timm was so versatile that he can do like brighter looking shows too. And like he did Cosmic like almost as well as he did Street Level, or at least, you know, him and his team when you're looking at some of the stuff Justice League did. So you're spot on that he could have done a good Fantastic Four show based on that. And like, you know, he liked him, was influenced by Kirby as much as anybody, and so he could have done, you know, if there was a good Silver Surfer show, but he could have totally done that. But as far as more street level stuff goes, like it would have been cool to see a Daredevil show that was maybe kind of a blend visually of what he did with Batman and Superman. You know, where you've got kind of a brighter New York City than the super, like, seedy Gotham that he did, but you've still got the darker, seedier elements of that in the storytelling. So it could be a real marriage of the looks of Batman and Superman.
Yeah. I got comment of the stream here from Rocket John Kelling.
Oh, boy.
You want to know how I got these tats? My father was an inker. And a fiend.
And a fiend! So good. Yeah, I love him, guys. I know some people think I'm nuts, but there's no going back now. And I don't know how much farther I'm gonna go. It's funny because like I wasn't even gonna
turn
get
into Jack someday and be like, we have to go back before the tats.
We have to go back. One of the silliest things that happens in Lost, especially if you might not even notice how silly it plays unless you're binging that show. But it's over episodes, DJ, where and I think it's like the season cliffhanger, where he yells, "We have to go back," and Kate is driving away, and then in the next episode, "We have to go back." She's driving, she stops her car, she turns around, she gets out, she starts yelling it back at him, "We have to go back!" And if you binge that, it's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, a lot of that stuff because that was definitely not meant to be a binge show. It was right before the binge phenomenon kicked in.
It's
But
so funny if you watch it in rapid succession.
yeah, that's like the Game of Thrones thing where you kind of that probably plays better, but like Lost, you have to. I'm sad that I missed the whole phenomenon where you watch week to week and discuss it with people. I didn't have
Yeah.
it. I did binge it because I didn't watch it till later.
I was lucky that I got to experience some of that because I came to it late, but I caught up before 4 started, so I got to watch half of it like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of the whole point of that show.
Yeah. Dagan Spear says it's not the next episode cap, it's the next season's finale. Oh, that's right. There's a whole season in between. And then they show you the rest of that scene. I forgot about that.
Because they did that a lot where it would be like the season finale and then they would pick up the next season like in the same scene.
Yeah. Yeah, Breaking Bad kind of did some of that too. To a lesser degree. But there were places in that show where we'd be peeling the curtain back and you'd see a scene completely out of context that was set somewhere in the future, and then you eventually arrive at it and you get the rest of the scene.
Yeah, Friends did that too, and then there would be some weird seasons where they would pick it up right where they left off, and Matthew Perry would be a completely different weight class.
Yeah,
even though it's supposed to be the same day. It's very strange.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm not blaming him or anything. It's just fun to watch. It's just interesting when you watch it.
Well, we got 5 more minutes of playtime.
All right. Let me see. I think we made it through all of the. Here we go. I've got one more from Alex Barron, a new commentator of the night, at least.
Oh, really? That's a name we've had before, isn't it? Maybe not for super chats.
No, I just mean of the night. I haven't asked the question of him.
Oh well, whatever. We'll do it anyway. Anyway, I'm sorry. What was the?
Sorry,
What was the
it's Alex Barron. Which director has the most impressive consecutive run of movies?
Oh my God, I'd have to look at a list, right? Because I'm gonna name somebody and you're gonna be like, no, there's this piece of crap right in the middle.
Yeah, he says my vote goes to Scorsese's 2010's output, From Hugo to The Irishman.
Oh sure, yeah. And then the problem is, what director have I seen enough movies in succession where I didn't skip one somewhere, right? Like, a lot of people would say Tarantino, because a lot of people don't think Tarantino's made a bad movie. So, like, you know, everything in a row for him is just like, well, it's Tarantino, because he doesn't make bad movies. But I've only seen a handful of his movies.
Yeah.
I don't feel qualified to answer this.
Yeah, I'm definitely not qualified to answer that. That's a lot. You have to. Have you done any full directors' filmographies?
I have kicked it around so many times. I've thought about doing that with directors, and I've thought about doing it with actors, where you watch somebody's like whole filmography. And I know Connor's done it with a couple of people, but I've never done it. What director would you do it with if you like who immediately comes to mind of like I know enough, I like enough of their movies that I'm pretty sure I would enjoy going through their whole output.
I just did it with Jacques Tati. He has 7 movies, and I just watched those. The last 2 months I watched all of his movies.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were suggesting that you've never done it either.
No, I was just asking if you had done it. I haven't done it a lot. I don't know how many I've done. I did his. I would definitely do it with Eric Romer because I've only seen like 8 of his films, and I really like pretty much all of them. And I actually just bought 2 more box sets of his movies, so I have now 12 more of his movies. So I can do a good bit. I can't. He was super prolific, so I can't watch all of his stuff. And I would also do it with Paolini because Criterion's putting out that Pier Paolini box set later on, and I've already seen 5 of his films, so I could probably do the rest of his because he's very interesting. And I don't know if I could watch Salo though. That seems like a movie I could never get through.
Who directed the Before trilogy? I'd consider doing that.
Richard Linklater.
Oh, that was Linklater. Oh, okay. Well, he's made a lot of movies though. That's a lot of movies.
Yeah, I just watched Dazed and Confused by him, and I really didn't like it.
I don't like that movie. I'm sorry, I don't care what anybody says. Somebody asked me to do that on the request at one point before we were calling it that, and I came on camera and I was like, "This is gonna disappoint people."
Yeah, Connor was so disappointed.
I couldn't get into this movie. No, I didn't like. Never mind. I probably don't want to do that.
I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
One
You
star.
and I are in agreement.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I don't get why people love that movie.
That was
It was like
a lot of college kids drinking.
just and being just so unlikable. I don't. It's not endearing at all. I don't get it.
No, I mean, I get, like, there's some good writing, and it's not like it's not about anything. I just didn't like sitting through it.
Yeah, it was hard to sit through for me. But yeah, Linklater, he's made a lot of. I've seen some of his other movies. He did that. Did you ever watch Bernie with Jack Black?
Yes, that is an incredible. I love that movie. I've reviewed that too.
Yeah, so he's very versatile.
Yeah, that's the movie where he works at a funeral home and he kills somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great movie. And then a few years later, he did kind of a similar thing about a polka guy called Polka King. It was a weirdly similar premise, and they're both based on things that actually happen, where he is another, like, likable criminal.
Oh, wow.
Who does this scheme and ends up in jail at the end, but everybody loves him. That's the same kind of thing.
So he got on that kick for a little while.
Yeah. That was like his second career.
Oh, what am I talking about? I did this recently with Guillermo del Toro and Wes Anderson. I watched all of their movies.
Did you really?
Yeah, like last year. Wes Anderson has 10 movies and Guillermo del Toro has 13. I watched all those. And Wes Anderson has a new movie coming out this year, which just went to Cannes, which I'm super excited about because I love Wes Anderson. So I've done this a couple times, but with smaller directors. Like Connor's doing it with Spielberg this year, which is his goal. That's like a bazillion movies. I don't know how he's going to get through that.
Yeah, and that's real hit and miss too. Because, like, Spielberg's got some great movies, but he's also got some stuff I don't like at all.
Yeah, and I think he's watching all of them this year, so even rewatching the ones he's already seen.
Yeah.
Whew. That's a lot.
That's a lot. I almost wouldn't do it just to not have to sit through War of the Worlds again. My God.
Oh, yeah, well, and I was going to... You could do Tim Burton, but yeah.
I know. F that, dude. I'm not doing Tim Burton.
The last half of his filmography would be really bad.
Can I do a director up to the point where they were still good? Like, you know, Tim Burton falls off somewhere and never really comes back. You know, got a couple of okay movies here and there. Wednesday is good, but like, I have actually more hope than I thought I would for the new Beetlejuice, just because it's the exact same team making Wednesday, and I like that show.
Yeah, and they're bringing that actress over and stuff.
Yeah, they brought her over. Yeah, it's essentially just Beetlejuice a la Wednesday, but like, they go together. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, that could be cool if that's like his comeback and he actually tries with that one.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to live and die by the script, and it's the Smallville creators, and they can be hit and miss. So we'll see how it goes. Have you watched any Wednesday?
No, I haven't. My wife watched through it. I saw like bits and pieces walking through the living room. I think so. She wasn't like over the moon about it, but she didn't say she didn't like it.
I've been digging on it. Yeah, I'm not freaking out over it like some folks, but I found it refreshing because as a reimagining thing, I thought it was, I think it's really cool, and I'm not finished it, but I think it's really cool that, you know, I'm over halfway through now, I think. But I think it's really cool that it's so authentic to the original conception of the Addams Family itself. Like, they're not, the rest of them aren't there all the time, but like, you see the whole family in the first episode, and the look and the characterization is based not on the TV show but the strips, and I'm like, I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah,
super cool. Donald Wright says, I think Burton only did the first 3 episodes of Wednesday. No, he did half of them, and I think it's not in succession. I think there's some directors in between him, or there's one director in between. I could be wrong though, because they don't show the director credit until the end of the episode, and I think I've missed it a couple of times. That doesn't have credits up front. They put everything right at the end of the episodes. So I don't remember, but it's Burton, and then I think the rest of them are. It's not Nutter, who I don't think. Who's the other, like, really prolific Smallville director? I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, the other guy that did like 50 or 100 Smallville episodes is the other director on that show.
That's crazy. How much of that team is involved in that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's because they came up with it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like Goff and Miller originated that, and then they had to go get the rights, which was not easy.
I wonder if they even thought that they could get Tim Burton involved. I wonder if that was their plan, or if they were just like, let's see if we can get the rights to it, and then he just like signed on.
No, they thought of it as like a pipe dream, and then were shocked that he was interested.
Yeah. That's cool for them.
Rocket John Kelling, wasn't Burton on set for most days of principal photography? Yeah, he was. And originally he was going to direct all of it. That's the thing, is it wasn't like they treated him like a workman director. Like he helped to, conceptualize a lot of it.
It's crazy that went so well with Addams Family at the exact same time that the Munsters project was coming out.
Yeah, it makes you wish that, somebody like that could have also done the Munsters, maybe.
Maybe they still can. Everyone's already forgotten probably that movie even exists.
Yeah, no, you're right. In the future it could, but it would have been nice if that had never been made. There's a guy whose filmography I have no interest in going through.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That'd be torturous. That would be a cool multiverse.
Rob Zombie? I'm not doing it.
That'd be a cool multiverse to visit where Rob Zombie gets the Addams Family and Tim Burton and those guys get the Munsters.
Oh, my God, yeah. What would that look like? Dagan Spear says they talked about it on Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Yeah, that's where I'm getting my information, is I listened to that episode.
Yeah, we get our news exclusively from podcasts.
From Michael Rosenbaum, yeah. Yeah. A big dream of mine is to get Michael Rosenbaum on this show.
That would be amazing.
It'll never happen. That's why it's a dream. But wouldn't that be cool?
Wouldn't it be cool?
All I want in life is
Why is it called a pipe dream? What does that mean?
We'll have to look that up. I'm sure it means something. I just want my goal is to get to Gong Michael Rosenbaum. Michael Rosengong.
Michael Rosengong. We should start rating things like he does, like 3.5 gongs.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Then you got to just keep hitting it, and then you got to do like a really soft one for the half.
Yeah, of course.
John Kelling, I wish we could have had Mockingbird Lane as a full series. Yeah, I've never seen that. That pilot was released. That was was it Goddard? No, it wasn't Goddard. Who made that? It was the guy that made. Why can't I think of his name? It's the guy that was originally putting together Star Trek Discovery and then left before it started getting made, and that did the Hannibal series. Is that guy? He was making that show.
Oh.
And then it didn't ultimately go to series, but they made a pilot movie, and that did air. Anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for watching the show. DJ, did you see anything else that we just absolutely have to do, because we are past 2 hours now?
No, that was the last.
Brian Fuller, thank you.
I had, and wow, did we get a lot of mileage out of that director question?
That's true. I think that was like a good fifth of the show, maybe.
Great question. We didn't really have a good answer for you, Bob Garland, but
I don't even remember what the question was, because I turned it into, hey, what director would you do that with? I don't know if that was the question. What was the question?
It was about the best.
Did I ever answer it?
Director consecutive run.
Oh, I couldn't think of anybody.
That,
I mean, in his early career, Tim Burton definitely has one, but then Returns kind of puts a wrench in it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's a particular Batman Returns. Because I don't think that's a particularly great movie, but everything else he does around it is pretty good. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, I would have to go with I guess Wes Anderson. Between the two that I've watched all their stuff, Del Toro and Wes Anderson. I don't like some of Del Toro's earlier stuff, but Wes Anderson, I like all of his movies, so I'd have to go with him.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys are making me feel like a fake movie fan. I can't think of a great answer for that.
Yeah, but you watch movie. You don't really watch movies for directors. A lot of people don't do that. They watch the ones that they're interested in, and I don't do that. I've only done it 3 times, so I don't do it much either.
Yeah, I always want to. Like I'll latch onto a director for like a couple of movies where I like this guy's style, or even the opposite of that. I like that they disappear and that they're versatile and they can do so many different things.
Well, if you had liked that one director's 3rd film, who did Moon, and then you would have had one. But
that is true. I would have, but I don't think. And I liked that when it first came out, but it turned out not to be great when I went back to Source Code.
Yeah.
Is that Duncan?
Duncan Jones? Yeah, and then you didn't like
Duncan Jones. That's his name.
His 3rd film, I didn't even watch because or his 3rd science fiction film, I didn't even watch because everyone was talking about it was horrible. What was that called?
Was that the pseudo Moon sequel?
The streaming one?
Because he made a Moon sequel that was apparently dreadful, and I didn't see it.
I didn't even know that it was supposed to be a sequel. I just heard that it was pretty bad.
AMC says Stallone. That actually might be a good pick. I'd have to go look at the list and see where you get to a place where he makes something that's not great.
Yeah, Mute. That's what it was called. Daniverse.
Yeah, there you go. No, Mute. I never saw that.
Yeah, I never watched it either. Anyway, we did a show.
We did. We showed up and we talked at you, and now we're gonna leave. That's how it goes.
Step 1, 2, and 3 of how to run a successful Q&A show, apparently.
Here in just a bit, 10 o'clock Central Time, I'm going to be doing a Geekvolution After Dark with Austin and Brandon. So go make yourself a sandwich and come back for that. And maybe you made one earlier while we were reading that longer comment, but it's probably settled at this point. You've got time to make another one. Maybe room in your stomach for more sandwich. So do that. Come on back. Hang out with us while we talk uncensored about interesting things I am sure that we would not bring up necessarily on this show. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be hanging out with Austin. We're going to do Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, and we're also going to watch Superman Doomsday and give you our updated current thoughts on those films for the Superhero Rewind commentary project. It's going well. I'm enjoying the crap out of it, and I want to thank everybody who's participated so far, either by being a $10 patron and putting in tweet length reviews and helping us pick stuff, or showing up live for those shows, or watching them after the fact. They've been going really well, and that's what we're doing tonight and tomorrow. Thanks a lot for watching. I was Captain Logan, and this was DJ Martinez.
Night, everybody.
Later, folks. Oh, hold on. I'm almost there. What? There we go.